Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be the big day. We're going to be pulling the body off of this van. And if you watched all the other previous videos for this van, you'll see that we had stages of getting to this point. On the last video there, we had gotten all of the stuff off. And then in another video, we took off the fan here. So we have all this stuff here that I kind of have just strapped in so that it's not going to catch on anything when we're picking the body up. One thing I negated to do was unplug the ABS box down here. And that plug is this big white one here. It's a black shell with a white inside here. It's just a typical lever style. So I unplugged that so we don't have to worry about that. I have all of our tools necessary to get this removed without having any issues. So we're not looking for tools. We're going to need a 10 millimeter here for the steering shaft, which is down here, and we can get to that easily. So 10 millimeter an extension. We have a 9/16 with an extension to get to the master cylinder bolts or the master cylinder nuts. We have a 21 millimeter wrench. This is for the retainer nuts on the bottom of the body mounts in the back. We have our impact with our 18 millimeter to get the core support bolts out and the bolts in the back. And then what I'm going to do today here is get this 7 millimeter and take off the fuel filler. Now, when we go to pull the fuel filler off, take the cap off and we'll pull the bolts out, and I'll just put the cap back on. When we go to pull the body off, we're just going to have to take the cap off. And the cap is retained inside the filler neck. So I will show you how to get that out when we pull the body off, because it'll be a lot easier to get my arm up in there to compress the clip to get the filler cap out of the body so we can put it back on the neck. So that should be all of the tools that we need to finish getting this body off, because we have the two in the front, the two in the back, and we left the brakes on for safety so that we have a stopping. We're not relying on the machine to stop this. And we also left the steering hooked up so that we could steer to get the van to go where we want it to. All this stuff is easily removed once we get the van out there on the lift. So we did all that. I went through, double checked everything, made sure that we didn't have anything that was going to cause us any issues. We didn't have to take any of the steering lines off, because obviously the box stays on the frame and the lines stay with the engine. We have all the cooler lines taken off, but there was one thing that I didn't unhook in the previous video where I showed you how to prep for getting this all off, and I am going to show that to you now. So we're inside here, we've got the dog box removed, and there's a ground wire here that needs to come off. And if you have a pyrometer, then you need to unhook it as well, because we run this one up through here. However, so that's the only thing that I could find on the inside of this van that needs to be disconnected as well. So we just make sure we unhook that, and we shouldn't have any other issues. And you can see here how you can get to the back of everything real easy, but still not fun to work on. And we've had a pretty good oil leak over here for some time, so that's going to be one of the things we fix. So just wanted to show you this ground strap in here that has to come off, and it's actually bolted right there, and the you can see the threaded bolt there, so it's easier just to take it off the motor. So went inside, got that ground strap off, and the only thing I could find in there was that ground strap. Didn't see anything else that was clipped to the body, a push pin, anything like that. And then the other thing that we're going to have to do is we need to disconnect the transmission linkage. Now, I will probably do that here now before it goes out, and we're going to block the tires for that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the little stuff that we're going to need to do now. That way we don't have to do it in the cold, because, we are in cold season now. So we don't want to be screwing around outside more than we have to. So I'm going to go ahead, remove that fuel filler neck from the body, and then disconnect the transmission cable. But before we do the transmission cable, we will block the tires so we don't have to worry about the van rolling for any reason. And then I put a push block in the back of the van. So I'll show you the push block and then we'll get started. So back here in the back of the van, I have this channel. Now this is a section of pickup truck frame that I had scrapped years and years ago, and I ended up making fork extensions out of it. So the fork would go in here, and we ended up tapering the edge of it over here. So technically this is a fork extension for me. It's just about 8 feet long. But what we did was, there's already holes all through this because it's old truck frame. So I made a hole bigger here and mounted it right to the frame. You can see the frame here. And then over here, lined it up and drilled a hole and put another bolt in over here. So what this does is we're going to use the forks on the cat over here. And we're going to be pushing on this piece of frame. Now, because there's a lip and a lip, if this van were to go up or down, or the forks were to go up or down, they will stay contained in this push block. Now, for us to pull it out of here, we can wrap a chain or a strap or anything around this and pull it out, or strap it to the forks so that we have a good solid connection there so we can push and pull with the machine. So that's why we did the push block back here. And this is something that my father came up with. He's like, hey, do you have a piece of C-channel? I'm like, yeah, I got one. So he says, put it on the back there, and you'll have a nice little place to push against. You don't have to worry about damaging the frame, or the fork slipping off and stabbing the spare tire under there, or damaging a door, or anything like that. But the one thing we are going to do is we're going to open these doors up when we go to do this, and the doors will be sticking out, but they won't be sticking in the way here. So if something were to happen and the fork were to come off of here, it wouldn't push up into the door. So we're probably going to leave the doors open. We may strap them completely open sideways. Haven't figured that out yet. We might leave them closed. It all really depends on how we feel about the scenario there. So we're going to go ahead and get the transmission cable disconnected, get the fuel filler disconnected, and get this thing outside. So down here we have the door open, and we have the fuel filler cap here. And there is 3 bolts in here that we're going to have to take out. I was going to use the impact here, but it looks like the right angle is going to be a better option here. So it's kind of hard to see in there, but there's a bolt down here, one here, and one there. So went and got our ratchet here. We put a swivel on the 7mm, and we're just going to work this in here. So the one thing you don't want to do is drop these screws in the filler neck. So don't do that. So we got these 3 bolts out of here. You can see there's one here, and then one over here. Now, it's stuck in here because of all the fuel and grime and grease and everything. So this will pop out once we start lifting the body. We just got to make sure that it goes through the actual retaining area here. So whenever you pull these off, there's a lip on the bottom here, or a whole way around. That lip can actually get caught on this flange. So you don't want to get that caught there and then end up bending this whole flange here. So for now, we're just going to put this cap back on. And we'll take that off when we go to pick the van body off. And then there's a retainer down here for the cap, which we can get from the bottom side, and it'll actually come out of there, and we can go ahead and put this cap on the neck. So we're under the van here, and you have your transmission linkage here. You have a retainer here that's going to hold this cable to this bracket. And then way up here, there's a clip that is just holding the cable. So getting this cable out of this clip is very simple. It's just a matter of popping it out like that. So that's easy. And then this here, you just pop it off. Now you have an adjustment on here, and this adjustment is for the transmission and also for the transmission cable. So you can adjust the position of the ball stud inside this plastic retainer here. So your next step here is to get this retainer off over here, and there is these little tabs. So you have to hold those tabs out, which these can sometimes suck to do because you have to do a couple things at once here. So you get one side started, and then you try to get your other side started and just kind of work it out of there like that. So they have ears on the back side, and you can see these little ears here, right here, and on the other side. So you just got to pry these ears out, and then the cable will come out of the transmission like it does there. So that's getting the transmission cable off, and then we're just gonna stick that up here out of the way. And then if you want to put this in neutral when you go to move it, you basically just go funk, funk. So park, reverse, neutral. So we'll go funk, funk, and that'll put this transmission in neutral, and it'll be able to roll freely. So we can do this to hold it places. So obviously before we put this in neutral, we'll put a block behind the wheels so that nobody gets ran over accidentally for some strange reason. So to put this in neutral, you basically go park, reverse, neutral. So that's reverse, and that's neutral. If you were to go one more, that would be drive. So right now this van will roll, so we don't have to worry about that because we have the wheels blocked right now. But this is neutral now, and this van will move without having to change the shifter up on the column because we've got the transmission cable disconnected. So the one thing that I did forget to do under here while we were doing the tranny cable was this connector right here. This has to be undone because this harness goes up into the engine bay and it'll come up with the body. But thankfully they give you a nice big connector here to disconnect it. So we got that disconnected like that, and this will stay with the body. So you just got to make sure that this doesn't give you any problems whenever you're lifting the body up. So it's not clipped to the frame anywhere up through here, so we should be good. So let's get this thing outside. So now we got it set up here. We're going to go ahead, get the brakes unhooked, get the steering unhooked, get these 4 body bolts out, and hopefully start going up. So moment of truth here, is it going to come off? So I missed this ground wire right here. And then this harness that's up here is also attached to the frame. So we have a ground up here. And this runs all the way up over to this quick connect right here where this yellow wire is. So that has to be disconnected as well. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect that. There we go. So that's all disconnected there. And that would go up to this connection here, which is a single wire for the starter. So we're going to go ahead and keep going up with this. What was that? Did you hear it? What was it? See, there ain't too much else that it could be. Oh, this ground wire. We ripped this ground wire over here. So I missed a ground. That'd be this guy here. So we'll just put a new piece of wire in for this whenever we go to put the body back on. So just rip the ground wire here. Okay, so we got the body off of here. One minor inconvenience with the fuel filler neck, but body's off, so we're going to go ahead and roll it back in the garage now. So now that we got the frame inside there, we came out here. I wanted to show you what we did. We put some cribbing down underneath this body here. And the only reason we did that was we didn't want to have all the weight sitting on these pinch welds for too long and having to worry too much about any damage to the body. But we got some cribbing underneath there. So this is pretty sturdy here, which is what we were shooting for. We didn't want to have any wind or anything come in and possibly take the van off the lift. But at the same time too, we have a little bit of pressure on these back pads. And what that's going to do is it's going to give a little bit of stability left and right for this van body. While the cribbing inside the middle there is going to do a lot of support, this is just a little bit of extra insurance. So that's what we were trying to accomplish with this lift. And I think that this lift is going to do wonders for us here with this body. And as you can see, all kinds of room in here. But I'm going to try and make sure that this doesn't stay out here longer than it needs to stay out here. And like I said, we got to do some little bit of rust repair over here. And we'll be seeing if we can get these pieces and panels apart inside here at a later date. So we'll see how that goes. And hopefully we don't got to put this body on a trailer like it is. But if we have to, then we have to, and we'll just figure it out. But sitting here nice and pretty, which is what we like. So we'll get back inside. So we're back inside here, and one thing we did do was we worked on these body mounts. And we wanted to get these body mounts off because we wanted to make sure that the frame was okay inside there, make sure that we don't have any issues. So there's rubber bumpers here, so a little bit of corrosion starting here. So we're going to clean that up and put some oil on there before we put that back. You can see this one was starting to corrode. And then for some reason, this one's bad. But that one's good. So the whole other side is all good, except for these guys. So this one's kind of bad, and that one's really bad. So we're going to have to get some frame savers, cut this all out, weld new pieces in there, and then probably do the same thing back here to this guy. And then this one, I think we're just going to clean it up really, really good and run that one because it's not bad at all. The other step we ran into. So you can see this is from the forward position. These are the bolts that broke, and you can see that it's pretty rusty here. And this is the other one here from the other side. But if you notice, see all these cut marks here? We could not get the lower retainers off. So that'd be these guys here. So these are pressed together just like the OBS trucks. And they have a lower isolator and an upper isolator. And you can see that all of these have the lowers still on them. Now we were able to separate a couple of them, and we were able to get the upper retainers off. However, we had to end up cutting, I would say 10 of them, 8 of them maybe, something like that. Count them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 total are going to be destroyed because 2 are rusty and 6 we cut. But those are the ones that we had to destroy. And the reason we decided to do the body mounts, while some of these look half decent, some of these are not so good. So we decided to just replace all of it. And we couldn't get these apart because if you notice, there's no nuts on the bottom of this. All right, so there's no nut there. And you can see that there's a nut on here. If you look at this one, you see how it's domed up, and there's a little bit of a light there between the spacers there. Okay, so these nuts are spot welded at the tips of the nut there, and that was neat. And these are trash. So these do not come apart well. And if you try to remove them using the OBS method, where you would put a threaded all thread in here and pull it out, or even put a bolt down through the top and hit it with a hammer and drive it down, what it does is it just blows the nut off of the actual washer. So that's lovely. We found that out. So that one actually, this one rotted off. So it literally fell off after we took the bolt out. And then you can see these ones. You can see it just tore the nut off with the pressure. So if you're doing a body on a van and you decide that you're going to replace the body mounts, be prepared to do some framework like that back hole back there, and prepare to have fun getting these body mounts off. So the way we got these off was an air chisel. So use the snap-on air hammer and just literally cut all the way around and popped the tops of the retainers off. So you can see we cut this one and just took them out from the bottom. So to get this one out here, which is actually still down in there, we got to drop the tank a little bit to get that isolator out of there along with its retainer. So that shouldn't be too horrible to do. We can get that out of there without a problem. But we'll be working on this hopefully soon. So we got the body off. Like I said, we only had 2 fatalities, so to speak. We lost this ground wire here, not a big deal, make a new one. The fuel filler ended up coming off. I did not realize that there was a spring clip up at the body holding it up. So we lowered the body back down and got that off of there, and basically just put it back on. So that was not a big deal, hurt nothing. So those are the only 2 things that I had missed realistically when we were pulling the body. Wouldn't say that everybody would miss it, but I'm not going to say that nobody would either. But hey, we're all human. So anyway, that's the body off the van here, and the 2-post lift made this wonderfully easy. And the next step is going to be, we're going to try to get this engine out, and if we have to take the tranny out, we'll take the tranny out, but I'm going to try to get as much of this stuff off of this while it's in here to make it lighter, and we'll get it put on the stand, and we can start going to town on getting this thing all fixed up. So we're going to be draining the oil out of it and all the coolant and getting everything off of it. So look for those videos coming up. Hopefully they won't be too far after this one, but we will see what happens, because we're going to be waiting for some parts and pieces, and we're going to be doing some framework. We're going to be replacing, we're actually repairing the mounts here, and see if we have any other issues once we pull the engine out, see if anything else needs to be addressed. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this video will help you out in working on your van, and well, you'll have some 6-liter content for you too. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.